Let's look at another way to do smoke. Okay, I can actually use something called fluids. Okay, fluid containers. And you can see they have 2D and 3D containers. I'm going to use a 2D container and kind of use it in a non-traditional sense, which I want to make a logo kind of go up in smoke, okay, or kind of fade out. So here's my 2D container, and I can have an emitter in there. So if I rewind and hit play, you can see that I have an emitter, and it's creating smoke in there, and that's kind of an interesting concept in itself. I'm going to go ahead and delete this emitter, and I'm going to import a logo on there. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go to Fluids, Add Edit Contents, Paint Fluids Tool, Options. Okay, now in here, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom to Attribute Maps and Import, and then I'm going to go ahead and import. And here I'm going to go to Intro to Maya, Source Images, and then I'm going to find Dynamics, Color. There it is. So that logo I'm going to import. Okay. And I want to make sure that I rewind at the beginning and press 6. Okay. So I imported just color, and there's no density. So there's no, we'll say, smoke associated with it. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to go to density and color. And it says, hey, you've got to change this, set it to dynamic. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to try it again. So now I'm doing density and color. And rewind. Okay, so there it is. And if I hit play, I can see that it's going up in smoke, literally. Okay. However, it doesn't look very good, right? And that's because our resolution on this isn't very good. So right now our resolution is set to 40. I'm going to bump that up to 300. And you'll notice it disappears. I have to import it again. And now if I rewind, okay, there it is. And if I hit play, there it goes. Okay. Now, what you'll notice is that if I look closely here, you can see that I can see through the word Maya, and I can see through Autodesk, and then kind of this back is kind of, we'll say that all kind of a thick cloud of smoke. So I feel like I'm going to switch this up a bit. I'm going to go ahead and import density by itself because I don't want it to be fully dense like this. So if I import, but then what I did is I made another one like this, and you can see that where the white is, that's where the density is going to be. In other words, that's where the smoke is going to be. And where it's black, there's not going to be any density. Okay, so that's the density that I want. And now if I rewind, there we go. Now I've got that, and if I hit play, I can see that's different, right? It feels like that's kind of going up in smoke. Then I can switch this to just color. And now I could import the color if I didn't already. And now you can see that I've got the correct color where it needs to be, but it's also got the density on where that needs to be. Okay, so very cool. Now, maybe that's all you want it to do, right? But I feel like I will show some kind of cool tricks with this. Over here in the attribute editor, I can go down and I can adjust some different things. Like, let's see, if I go to content details, density, let me see what happens if I change buoyancy, okay, to something like -1. Okay, buoyancy is kind of like things floating, but if I put it to negative, I can see that it now melts away. Okay, kind of cool. But what if I want it to look like it's kind of maybe coming up from the ground and it's building this? So I kind of wanted to play this in reverse. Okay, so what I could do is I could cache this, okay? And what caching is, once again, is recording it to memory. And the idea is I'm going to cache this melting, and then I'm going to play the cache in reverse, okay? So I'm going to say that it looks like 100 frames. Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe 100 frames. Actually, maybe Yeah, maybe 85 frames. 85 is good. Okay, so what I can do is I'm going to go up to cache, create a new cache, and now this is going to be a Maya fluid. And actually, it looks like it's going to do the whole timeline. Okay, and that's okay. If I didn't want to do the whole timeline, I would have to go to the options here, and I could set it specific. But for me, it's just the whole timeline from frame 1 to 120. And if I want to look at what that looks like, if I go into here, if I go into cache, end cache, fluid, untitled, there it is. Okay, so that's my logo fade, and that's 120. So it's a physical file. Let's see the size of that. 247 megabits, so that's pretty big. Okay, and now you can see that I can kind of scrub forward or backwards. Now, if I want to explore that cache or kind of edit that, I can go into this over here, and now here's where that cache lives, and I can control it. So one thing that's kind of cool is I could click on reverse here, and now if I rewind and hit play, it's going to do this. Okay, so really cool. It looks like we've got this complex control of this smoke and having it form this this logo out of thin air, out of nothing. Okay, maybe I'll give myself more frames. And now you can see that when it's done, it just kind of does this thing again. So really cool, and maybe I have it slow motion, so maybe on the scale I put this to 2. And now it's going to kind of go twice as, it's going to take a while. Oh, I don't even have enough frames for that. Maybe I'll try it really fast, like 0.5. Okay, very, just kind of really cool things that we can do with that. So these fluid containers are pretty crazy, like pretty neat stuff that you can do with it. I'll just put that scale back to 1. Okay, cool. And maybe I'll just put this to 120. Now if I rewind. Okay, there we go. So very cool. And by the way, if you want kind of other examples of fluid containers, if I go into General Editor Content Browser, you can go in here, and in here, fluid examples, you can see here they have examples of clouds, of explosions, of fire, and both 2D and 3D examples. So these are good things to kind of open up and kind of dissect and look at and see how things are created. This cigarette smoke is kind of interesting to look at, but really kind of a neat thing it's different than particles, right? It's kind of doing its own thing. It's called voxels, and but really kind of fascinating and some neat effects. You can see that this is paper thin, right? But I feel like this is used for like smoke, obviously all those things, smoke, explosions, clouds, a liquid, a lot of cool things that can be done with this. So just kind of getting you even aware that something like this exists. So yeah, very cool. Have fun kind of exploring fluid containers.